Hello and welcome to episode 36 of the Crazy Knitter Studio podcast. My name is Kristen, also known as Crazy Knitting Fool on Ravelry, and I'm your hostess. Today is Saturday, February 10th, 2018. I'm calling this episode Moving Right Along. So I want to say hi to all new and returning viewers. Thanks for checking this out. So starting lineups, introductions. There's been no introductions in the Ravelry group since the last episode. So if you'd like a little shout out on the show, come on in and introduce yourself and I'll give you a little shout out. So moving on into presser weeks in review. So I am quite a few weeks behind. So first up, I got sick. The original weekend I was planning on podcasting back at the end of January. And I got very sick. So I wanted to spare you all the coughing, sneezing, runny nose version of myself, so I didn't record. And then once I got better, 2 weeks ago I was going to record, and then I tried 3 times, got interrupted twice, and the third time my phone was just acting weird, so I gave up. 3 strikes, you're out. So there was, I don't know if you remember this, but a few weeks ago there was a meteor crash here in Michigan. Shook some people's windows. We saw nothing, we heard nothing here, so it was kind of anticlimactic. Once we found out about it, I felt kind of robbed that we didn't get to see or hear anything, but oh well. And then about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, my stepdaughter had a baby, so number 4 for her. 4 boys, 9 and under. More power to the girl. But his name's Colton. He's adorable, of course. He's got the cutest chubby little cheeks. I'm a cheek pincher, so he's got the cutest chubby pinchable little cheeks. And then last weekend I was planning on recording, and little man and I were out on Saturday of last week. I signed him up for an art project thing at the library. Then we ran a couple of errands. We went to the dollar store. And then we were on our way to PetSmart. I don't know why. I say this every time. But my nose does not itch until I start recording. It's weird. Okay, anyway, sorry. So then we were going to PetSmart. And it was snowing a little bit. Not too bad. But I'm in the right turn lane to turn into the shopping center where PetSmart is. And I'm turning the wheel. And nothing's happening. Car's not moving. I mean, it's going straight. It's not turning. So then I'm like trying to stop, of course. And then I slide because of the snow. And a woman coming out of the parking lot hits me. I end up going up on the curb. What happened was the tie rod in my car broke. So that's why the car wouldn't turn when I was turning the wheel. So we got into a car accident. It was not fun. I've not been in a car accident. Well, I got rear-ended a couple years ago at a stoplight, but like the guy barely hit me. And I hit a car in the parking lot at work a couple years ago. But I mean, an actual like car accident like that, it's been a long time. And it was frightening. And little man's, of course, crying. And then I'm trying to hold it together. And then I can't hold it together anymore. And my husband's like, oh, geez, old Pete. Because I'm calling him. It was not fun. So I got a ticket, but I'm going to fight it because what could I have done? The tie rod if I had gone back into the lane of traffic, it probably would have been worse because those cars are going 45 miles an hour and someone could have hit me as I'm trying to get back into the lane of traffic. So I just stayed in the turn lane. I feel like she should have been able to stop because I saw her way before, but you know, whatever. It was technically my fault, but I'm going to fight the ticket as much as possible because after having to pay to get the car fixed, which is going to be about $2,000, we just paid the car off, so we don't have full coverage on it anymore. And renting a car and the debacle, we had a debacle with the towing company, so we had to pay them $250, even though they were supposed to cover it through AAA. We'll get the money back from AAA, but, you know, we've got to wait 2 months probably before we get it. So I'm fighting the ticket because I feel like I don't know what else I was supposed to do. There was nothing I could do. If the car's not, if it's not going to turn, what was my options? I did the best option I could. It sucked, but it was, like I said, better than going into traffic and getting hit by a car that's going 45, 50 miles an hour. Anyway, still have my car fixed. I worked from home all last week, which spoiled the heck out of me. It's going to be very hard on Monday to go back to the office and deal with the drama llamas that I cannot stand. But, oh well. It has me really looking forward to when we move offices in May, and I will have probably 3 days a week, every week, dedicated when I get to work from home. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I'm very thankful I had that, because otherwise I didn't have enough vacation time. We would have had to rent a car for a whole week. We're renting a car now for a few days, because we're hoping the car will be done on Tuesday. So we have a car. We picked it up today, and we'll rent it till Tuesday. The little man had to ride the bus last week, which stunk because he hates riding the bus, and I really don't like him riding it either. I do not like our bus drivers. I don't like the bus company. We had a problem 2 years ago, not with little man. He was fine, but there was problems on the bus, and they didn't handle it very well, in my opinion. So I prefer him not to ride the bus, but what can we do? At least they had snow days Monday and Friday, so he only had to ride it 3 days, but he still was not a happy camper. All right, and then I don't think I mentioned in my last podcast, but every year I try to pick a word or a theme. You know, it's a big thing. Lots of people do it. But my word for this year is action, because I am a thinker. I'm a muller. I will think something to death and not take action on anything. So I need to start taking some action. So that's my word for 2018. All right, moving on into the next. My first downs, which are my whips. So, big surprise. I know you're all shocked. First one's my niece's blanket, the Spartan blanket, which is the Hip to Be Square blanket pattern by Jennifer Bracco. The yarn, or the needles are size 8, 5.0 millimeters, and I'm using size 10.5, 6.5 millimeters for the edging. And the yarn is Knit Picks Bravo worsted in Dublin in white, and Karen Simply Soft in black. I really, honestly, have to force myself to work on this. I just don't want to. But right now's the Olympics. Ravelympics are up. I'm not officially joining any team, but my goal is to have this edging done for Ravelynix. So I started here. You can't, I got the, here we go. And I am now, oops, it's kind of stuck. So I've done a bit. And here's where I am now. So I've done a bit on the edging, but I haven't even finished one side yet. So this is hard for me to work on. I'm sure you all know everything that's going on in our school. It's kind of hard to work on it. Because, you know, kind of disgusted with the Spartans right now. Anyway, all right. Moving on. So I started another project since I last saw you all. So I started, I'm calling this the Over the Rainbow Market Bag. So the pattern is the Toddler Market Bag by Heather Blum. It's size 8, 5.0 millimeter needles. And the yarn is Sugar and Cream in Over the Rainbow. So that's where the name came from. There we go. I love this market bag pattern. It's just so, it's cute and it's quick and it's easy. So I've been working on this, but it's going to get set aside a little bit. Here's the yarn. Very nice for our gloomy, snowy, nasty weather that we're having right now. All right, so that's all I'm working on. I do have 2 touchdowns or finished objects. They're both preemie hats. So the first one is the Grace Baby Hat Pattern by Mariana Mel. I use size 3, which is 3.25 millimeter needles, and yarn is Regia Calf Facet in Mirage Storm. So, oops, it's got a little fuzzy on it. Like this. My show notes just fell on the floor. Anyway, so it's a cute little pattern. Hold on, I gotta go pick those up. Now something else fell on the floor. I'm telling you, this is my life lately. I know, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big a deal. So I try not to. This week's been hard. I try not to have pity parties for myself, but I've been having quite a few this week. And then my second one is the Ben's Baby Hat pattern, also by Mariana Mel, also in size 3, 3.25 millimeter needles in Regia Calf Facet Mirage Storm. So this one's got a little knit pearl texture on it, which is hard to see with the yarn, but. So 2 of my 26 preemie hats I want to knit for the year done. So that makes me happy. Alrighty, so turnovers, mistakes. There's really none that I can remember making, so when you don't knit a lot, I guess you'll make mistakes. Concessions, purchases, nothing, haven't bought anything. Oh well. Training camp, future projects. I still want to make the Apia, I'm still not sure how you say it, shawl, by Hilary Smith Callis. And I showed you the yarn that was a tangled up mess, because I apparently do not know how to use a ball winder and a Swift. And it fell on the floor. Hold on. I see it. This is a professional production, people, you know. Yeah, right. Okay, so it was a big tangled mess the last time I showed it to you. I actually managed to untangle it. This was a lot of work, but it got done. It was actually weirdly kind of relaxing. So I will be starting that, but probably not till after, again, the Ravelry are over. All right, this is going to be a short show, considering the fact that I haven't recorded in like a month, but oh well. Film room, books, TV, etc. I've read a few books since last episode. I finished Killer Reunion by G.A. McKevitt. This is the Savannah Reed Cozy Mystery Series. She's a PI in Southern California, but she's originally from Georgia. And in this book, she goes back to Georgia for her high school reunion. She gets into a fight at the reunion with her arch nemesis from high school, the mean girl. And then, of course, the mean girl ends up dead and she becomes prime suspect. So, again, I don't read like Pulitzer Prize winning fiction. I'm very big on like brain candy when I read. And then I also finished another one called Death of a Cozy Writer by G.M. Malliot. And this is another series about a detective in England named St. Just. And that's his last name. I can't remember what his first name is. But in this one, he is investigating the murder of the son and the writer. The writer is a very horrible person. Just, there's no other way of putting it. He was just an SOB. So it was okay. There's another one in the series. At least one that I know of. There might be more, but I'll read the next one sometime. And then I finished another one in the Savannah Reed mystery series, which was Everybody on Deck. In this one, she's hired by a mystery writer to go on an Alaskan cruise. She's the mystery writer's doing this writer's cruise with fans. And she's been getting death threats. So she wants some extra security. So, again, brain candy, not Pulitzer Prize winning fiction. So I am currently reading A Weekend to Change Your Life by Joan Anderson. And this is an interesting book. This woman, I want to read her original book, which I've never read. It's called A Year by the Sea. So, you know, her kids grow up, they move out of the house, you know, and she's kind of at that, you know, point where a lot of women get at that age. You know, it's like your kids don't need you anymore. And, you know, who are you? Like, because you spend your life, you know, taking care of your kids and everything, and now they're gone. So, she actually took a year and moved to her and her husband's cabin on Cape Cod and lived there for a year, and kind of now she runs weekend retreats for women on the Cape, and it's you know, just kind of how you can take one weekend to kind of change your entire life and get back to who you are. And I think and it's not just a mom thing, because I know I have friends who don't have kids, but have the same thing because they have elderly parents that they're taking care of, or their husband. Like I always say, if you have a husband, you have a child, probably. I used to say that before I had kids. People would ask me if I had kids, and I would say, yes, he's 40, whatever years old. But, and mine's pretty independent. But I think we all know that there are those guys out there who, like, when not be able to handle much without their wives around. So you don't have to be a mom. I think it's just a woman thing. You know, whether you're taking care of your husband or kids, or, you know, an elderly parent, like I said, or whatever. So it's a good reminder for all of us. And then I'm also reading A Mother's Reckoning, Living in the Aftermath of Tragedy by Sue Klebold. And if the name sounds familiar, her son Dylan was one of the Columbine shooters. And she's become an activist for suicide prevention since the tragedy. And, you know, she's just writing, and it's frightening. Because, honestly, as I'm reading this book, I don't think they missed a lot. I don't think, I mean, from the way she describes things, and the way that a lot of people who have read his journals and things describe things, is he was not, I mean, he was sullen. He would be rude sometimes. Okay, he was a 17-year-old boy. Like, what 17-year-old boy can't be rude sometimes? Like, but there was a couple of things that she said, now looking back on it, maybe they should have taken a little more seriously, but it wasn't, reading it, it's like, I don't think I would have taken that as a big, huge red flag that my kid's about to go shoot up his school. You know, it's frightening. It's very frightening. And as somebody who has dealt my entire life with anxiety and depression, you become very, very good at hiding it. You become very good at pretending to be normal and not wanting to bother people. And that's kind of the impression I'm getting, is he didn't want to bother his parents with his problems, so he didn't. So, it's, like I said, it's scary. Makes me wonder. Wait. Okay. So, for TV, I've been watching the reboot of the XFiles, the new season. I don't know. It's getting a little, I don't know. It's always been out there, but I don't know. I still love Mulder and Scully. How can you not love Mulder and Scully? And I started watching SWAT with Shamar Moore. I would watch Shamar Moore do anything. He could just stand there and stare at the camera and not even say anything for an hour, and I'd probably watch, because that man is gorgeous. But, you know, he heads the SWAT team in LA. So, again, it's not the greatest television I've ever watched, but it's not bad. And I've also watched the assassination of Gianni Versace. And this is interesting. I remember the story. I was in college when he was murdered. And I remember it happening, and I remember kind of vaguely hearing about the guy who killed him. And he killed a bunch of other people too, but man, he was psycho. Like, really, like, and like, he came up with these outrageous stories, like, he was, you know, descended from royalty of France, and like all this crazy stuff. It's like, you know, he was really, really, really messed up. Obviously, if you're going to kill a bunch of people, you're not right in the head, but, you know, whatever. He was really bad. And I also watched the movie A Tale of Two Corys. So, of course, if you're a child of the 80s, like me, you loved the Corys. I was a Haim girl. Preferred Haim to Feldman. But, so this starts like in 1984, and it goes through, you know, the end of Haim's life when he died in 2010, I think it was. So it was a Lifetime movie. Again, it was alright. It wasn't horrible, but man, let me tell you. Again, I would never let my kid go to Hollywood. I'm sure things are maybe, I mean, who knows? With all this stuff coming out, maybe not. But I would think things might be a little bit better now than it was 30 years ago, but who knows? And then there's 2 new podcasts. First up is Tightly Spun with Emily Straw, where she interviews different knitters, fiber people. She used to do the Knitting Butterflies podcast, so it's pretty interesting. And then there's also the Fiber Muse podcast by Frenchie Denois. And Frenchie is a designer, and I like her because she really is big on building a community and all that. And she does lots of free challenges and stuff. So check those 2 out. All right. So now moving into the post game, which is the wrap up. One of the things I decided I wanted to do with the podcast this year is to do a monthly birthday drawing. So what I'm going to do is the first podcast of the month following. I'm going to pull everybody who had a birthday the month before, random number generator, and they win a $10 or pattern up to $10 or patterns making $10 on Ravelry. So I did that. We had 7 members who had birthdays in January. So I did random number generator. And the winner was Sharon, who is Brock's Knitter 1 on Ravelry. So she also hosts the Moms with Yarn podcast. So I will be contacting Sharon. So in the first podcast in March, we'll be doing the drawing for the February birthdays. All right, so contact information. If you want to contact me, I'm Crazy Knitting Fool on Ravelry. Twitter is Crazy Knit Fool. Instagram is Crazy Knitter Studio. The blog is crazyknitterstudio.blogspot.com, and the email is crazyknitterstudio@gmail.com. I hope to be able to come back in 2 weeks on the 24th and record. Hopefully there will be no car accidents. There will be no sickness. There will be no technical difficulties, interruptions. The guys will be out of town. They're going to go out of town that weekend, so I will have the time and the space. So hopefully, February 24th. And I will hopefully have a blanket that has a border done, or pretty much done, because that's going to be the end of Ravel Olympics. So, Ravel Olympics, sorry. Don't come after me, Olympic Committee. Please do not sue me. All right. So, I will see you guys again in 2 weeks. I hope you all have a safe 2 weeks. If it's snowing like it is here, please be careful. And as I always say, stay out of trouble. And if you can't stay out of trouble, just don't get caught. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.